So I am extremely happy for today's tarot and watercolor. I am doing the light dimensional ground that everybody's been asking me about. I hope you like it, and this is going to be for the week from the 31st of May through the 6th of June. I already shuffled my cards, and this is what's coming up. The first two cards we have: travels are well expected. We might not get everything that we wanted to as we had thought we would, but it's not going to be a big deal. It's part of the dreams. We feel tied up to the situations. We have not learned all the lessons, so that's dragging us down, and we are constantly in battle with ourselves because we haven't learned all the lessons. It's a big burden to carry, and we are trying to find the strength to carry on. I understand that. Sometimes the things we live are hard to swallow and hard to take, but that doesn't mean that we need to stop living. We need to keep on living while we learn the lessons. We cannot detain life or have everything on hold, because it doesn't work that way. So even though if you have not learned your lessons, you need to keep moving forward. Everything needs to keep moving forward. We cannot stagnate, because when we stagnate, our energy stagnates. And if energy stagnates, it's like water. When it stagnates, it starts to rot. So we need to keep moving forward. We need to keep doing plans for the future, and forget how we see things. If we haven't learned all the lessons, we need to learn them along the way, but we cannot hold and detain everything for that lesson or the lessons that need to be learned, because that's part of life. Life has to be lived to be enabled to learn the lessons. So that's where the strength lies, in living and learning. That's our strength. So we need to move forward with everything that's going on, and just enjoy it and not detain it any longer, or let everybody else live and you stay where you are. Some people decide to go and recede into a cocoon, and that's okay for them, but the rest of the people and the situations that we have around, they need to move forward. You cannot hold them back any longer. Have a good week. Hi guys, welcome to tarot and watercolor painting. Last week I did the first unusual substrates series. The first one was the shovel, that we worked with the watercolor ground from Core. This week we are gonna start, let me put this aside, we're gonna start with light dimensional ground, also from Core, light dimensional ground, which is the one that it's kind of textured and it's really fun. I will be showing you soon. So I've got my substrate here. It's just a regular canvas, and I did some lines as they were mountains, and I'm gonna just, as you can see, this is kind of a thick paste. It's foamy. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like a thick foam. And I use this and I apply it with a palette. I've discovered that palettes are the best instrument for me. Maybe you find a different one to apply it. And I could do, like right now I'm doing just an even coat to cover everything, and then I'll start texturing and creating levels, which is the thing that I like about this. Doesn't matter how much you try, it will always leave a mark. It always marks, so it's always gonna have some kind of texture. As you can see, it's a thick paste. I hope you can see it properly there. And I could do that Oh, it did something that I liked and now I can't reproduce it again. Oh well, let's keep going. It'll turn out again. Just made some clouds very interesting. But I want to cover everything in the canvas because I want to make sure that the full canvas becomes, this one I didn't prime with the ground, so I wanted to make sure that everything is covered so it becomes watercolor paintable. If I don't cover it all, the canvas will repel the watercolor. So to make sure that watercolor does work with this canvas, I am covering everything in the light dimensional ground. It's light dimensional. The one that I showed you last week is watercolor ground. The difference is one is liquid, very dense liquid, and this one's kind of a paste that becomes a foam. Once it dries, it becomes like a foam. Okay, that created, now that the helicopter is gone, there you can see all the texture. It's very interesting all over. This canvas is a 3x6 canvas, and it will dry tonight, so we can actually get it done tomorrow. So I showed you that I did blow dry it because I want to, not to cheat, but I want to make sure that I'd be able to have the time to complete my tutorial. And so it's completely dry to the touch. That doesn't mean that it's only dry on the outer layer. The inner layers still haven't cured. So I want to make sure that you understand that it still needs to dry the 24 hours. But I did get it enough. I got the outer layer dried enough that I can actually paint over it right now. So I'm glad that now you can see it from above, because that allows me to show you how I'm going to be doing the mixes. The first mix I am going to be using is turquoise teal, a little bit of quinacridone magenta, and ultramarine blue, because I want to create a deep hue. And usually most people put the darkest in the back of the mountains, but I'm gonna do it backwards because this is kind of like a sunset. So as you can see, I am applying that first coat, and since it's an uneven and I wanted it that way, I'm going to create more of my mixture while I'll talk to you. As you can see, it's still uneven, so I can see the ridges and the crevices that has created, which I can use to my advantage when I add the colors. I can make very rich colors, and I can still leave some whites and so the sun is coming out on the back. Let me do my bottom half, because it wouldn't be fair if I leave that part of my canvas undone. I want it done the same, but this one I want to darken in the bottom because the sun hasn't reached there. So as you can see, so it's the same. It paints the same as paper. Once it's dried, The only thing about that light dimensional is that it has texture. It adds a lot of rich, very rich texture to the canvas. And as I said, everything that you want to be able to paint, you need to either cover it in the ground, watercolor ground, or you need to cover it in the light dimensional. If you don't cover your canvas, the watercolor will not adhere to the canvas, unless it's a watercolor canvas. So, because I know there are watercolor canvases. So there's my first layer. I don't want to go to the next one just yet, because I want to make sure that it doesn't disperse into the wrong layers. Instead, I'm going to start working with my sky. And since I told you it's kind of a sunset, it's the sun is coming up. I want to make this bottom part kind of lighter. And also make sure that you do your sides congruent to what you're painting. I want to allow that layer to dry. It's the same application as it's on paper. You need to allow layers to dry, but I still can work on this one. So I'm gonna do my second color for the other layer, and for that, and as you can see, when water falls on it, it disperses the same as in watercolor paper. I was gonna do that at the end, but all my canvas is helping me now, so let's do it now. As always, watercolor dries lighter. It will be the same. As you can see, I had a very dark blue here, and it has become lighter. The same with this. It has a titanium white base and mixed within the light dimensional ground. So always account for that white when it interacts with your colors. Always. Because it will make a difference. I want to work a little bit of wet on wet here. Since it's gonna dry lighter, I want to work with the wet on wet. Oops, I almost spoiled my brush for not looking. I almost killed the tip of my brush. I cannot do that to my brushes. So as you can see, now that it's a little bit drier, I added the second layers, leaving some gaps. I find those very interesting. Before I continue with my middle layer, I want to know what mixture I am going to do, and I believe that I'm going to do, it's going to be a teal, cobalt teal, a little bit of phthalo, and I might add a little bit of ultramarine blue. I want it a little bit darker, yeah. So I'm going to do, instead I'm going to do the teal, cobalt teal with the ultramarine blue to start my next layer. has taken the rich colors of the sea. So this actually looks like waves in the sea. I'm gonna leave a little bit of white in the top. Because you know when the sea is, when the water is hitting the sea, it has that bubbles from the water are white. So I'm gonna add a little bit more of teal to the bottom layer because I changed my mind. They're not gonna be mountains anymore. That happens mid-work sometimes. So I went from the mountains to the sea because it has more kind of that feel, definitely. And I'm a woman, so I am allowed to change my mind. That's a joke. Anyways. As you can see, it's so invigorating to work with this material. It's kind of a foam when it dries. It's rubbery. So make sure that you don't use you don't use one of your good brushes in it because it might ruin it. And there you go. So my substrate right now is, again, dry to the touch. The paint is, still a little bit wet in some areas, like the yellow is still damped around the edges, but mostly it is dry. Where's my brush? Oh, here it is. And I want to heighten a little bit more some colors, so I'm going to go over with them. Just want to make sure that it's actual color that I am thinking of. And again, I can use the water to disperse it, lift, or create movement. And this material will allow me to lift as the same saturate. It will not go back to true white, but it will be very close to white when you lift. Let me show you here. You see, you still have a little bit of the pigment showing through, but it lifted almost to the original white. Now I'm going back to my sky, and as I said, I'm using Duralite yellow. And I just want to touch some areas. I don't want like the whole thing to be very strong color. And I would say, at least for this piece, it's almost done. I still have to wait for my birds to show up, but it has to be dry. If I do the birds right now, it's gonna disperse on the light dimensional ground, and it will just look like a black blob. And I'm gonna do my birds. For them, I'm gonna do a alizarin crimson with a diorite yellow, and I'm gonna add cobalt turquoise because I want a dark brown. So I keep adding red to that green combination. And I get my dark brown. There goes my bird. There's one there. And there's the other one. So now that my project is completely dried, I am gonna, see, it's totally dry. I'm gonna mask up because when we do varnish, we need to protect ourselves. It's harmful for our lungs. We shake it very well. And from about, I'm gonna do it from about 2 to 3 inches apart. We spray an even coat all over, and we allow it to dry. I hope you have liked my video on light dimensional ground. Keep watching. I have more videos that will be coming out, especially another color theory video, and I hope you like it. Have a good day.